Welcome to Explore Vortex. Today we'll discuss the fascinating phenomenon of vanishing islands. Picture this. You're sipping a pina colada on a pristine beach, the sun setting over turquoise waters. Sounds idyllic, right? Well, hold on to your coconut bras, folks, because for some island nations, this paradise is quickly turning into a scene from Waterworld. And trust me, Kevin Costner won't be there to save the day. We're talking about rising sea levels, people. You know, that whole climate change thing everyone's been buzzing about? It's not just about hotter summers and weird weather anymore. It's literally swallowing entire islands whole. Talk about a buzzkill. These islands, many of which are barely a few feet above sea level to begin with, are now facing an existential crisis thanks to our global addiction to fossil fuels. And if you think this doesn't affect you because you're safely landlocked in, say, Ohio, think again. What happens when millions of climate refugees start looking for a new place to call home? Let's just say it'll be a lot harder to find a decent bagel shop in Cleveland. Okay, so how exactly is this whole rising sea level thing happening? Well, imagine a giant ice cube, let's call him Frosty, chilling in your drink. As the drink, that's our planet, folks, gets warmer, Frosty starts to melt, making your drink all watery and sad. Now, swap your drink for the ocean and Frosty for glaciers and ice sheets. And you've got the basic idea. As global temperatures rise, these giant chunks of ice melt at an alarming rate, adding more water to the ocean like some kind of cosmic prank gone wrong. But wait, there's more. Not only is there more water in the ocean, but the water itself is expanding as it gets warmer. It's like when you microwave soup and it bubbles over. Except in this case, the soup is the ocean and your kitchen is the entire planet. The result? Coastlines shrinking faster than your patience during a political debate, and entire islands disappearing like your hopes of ever affording a house in this economy. So the islands are shrinking, the ocean's rising, not exactly a recipe for a relaxing vacation. But the real tragedy here is the human cost. We're talking about millions of people who call these islands home, facing the very real possibility of becoming climate refugees. Imagine having to leave behind your home, your history, your entire way of life because the ground beneath your feet is literally disappearing. It's like being evicted from your apartment, except instead of a landlord, it's Mother Nature. And she does not negotiate. Where will these climate refugees go? Who will take them in? These are questions that keep world leaders up at night, or at least they should. Because when millions of people are displaced, it's not just a humanitarian crisis, it's a global security issue. And let's not forget the cultural loss. These islands are home to unique traditions, languages, and ways of life that have been passed down for generations. To lose them would be like losing a piece of our collective human story. You know what they say? Give a man a fish, and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish? Well, he'll probably still be hungry because rising sea levels are killing all the fish. Okay, maybe that's not how the saying goes, but you get the point. Food security is a major issue for island nations, many of which rely heavily on fishing and agriculture. But as the ocean encroaches on their land, salt water is contaminating freshwater sources and ruining crops. It's like trying to make pasta in seawater. It just doesn't work. Farmers are struggling to adapt, but it's an uphill battle against a rising tide. Literally. And let's be real, how much salt can you put on a tomato before it just tastes like despair? Section 5, bye-bye, beaches and tourism dollars. Say goodbye to your island getaway. What's an island without its beaches? A very large rock, I guess. But more importantly, tourism is a major source of income for many island nations. People travel from all over the world to soak up the sun, swim in crystal clear waters, and pretend they're in a Corona commercial. But as sea levels rise and beaches erode, those idyllic vacation spots are starting to look more like post-apocalyptic wastelands. And let's just say, nobody's lining up to take a selfie with a half-submerged resort. The economic impact of this is huge. Tourism revenue is vital for these countries to fund essential services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Without it, they're left high and dry, pun intended, to deal with the consequences of a crisis they did little to create. Section 6, Coral Catastrophe. Even Nemo's packing his bags. Speaking of things that are dying in the ocean, let's talk about coral reefs. These underwater cities are not only stunningly beautiful, but they also play a vital role in marine ecosystems, providing food and shelter for countless species. But coral reefs are incredibly sensitive to changes in water temperature and acidity, both of which are being thrown out of whack by, you guessed it, climate change. As the ocean absorbs more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, it becomes more acidic, like a giant can of La Croix gone wrong. This acidification is dissolving the skeletons of coral reefs, leading to widespread coral bleaching and death. It's like if someone poured bleach into your fish tank, not exactly conducive to a thriving ecosystem. Section 7. A tangled web of impacts. It's like dominoes, but with more floods. Here's the thing about climate change. It's not just one problem, it's a whole buffet of interconnected issues. Rising sea levels are just one dish on the menu. We're also talking about more extreme weather events like hurricanes, droughts, and floods. These events can devastate island nations, wiping out infrastructure, crops, and entire communities. It's like Mother Nature is playing a cosmic game of Jenga, and she just keeps pulling out blocks until the whole thing collapses. And as if that wasn't bad enough, these disasters can also exacerbate existing problems like poverty, inequality, and political instability. It's a vicious cycle that's only going to get worse unless we take action. Section 8. The climate change connection. Let's call a spade a spade. Okay, so we've established that rising sea levels are bad news for island nations. But what's causing this watery mayhem in the first place? Well, it's not some big mystery, folks. The culprit is climate change, and the driving force behind climate change is us humans. Our addiction to fossil fuels is pumping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, trapping heat like a giant sauna from hell. This is basic science, people. It's like we're all collectively smoking cigarettes in a small, enclosed car with the windows rolled up. Eventually, things are going to get pretty uncomfortable. Except in this case, the car is our planet, and the discomfort is, well, the end of civilization as we know it. Section 9. A glimmer of hope. We're not all doomed. Yet. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This is all very depressing. Where's the hope, Tina? Don't worry, I haven't gone full doomsday prepper on you. Yet. There's still time to turn things around, but we need to act fast. We need to transition away from fossil fuels and embrace renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and geothermal. For granted, like breathable air and, not living in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Section 10. What can we do? Because sitting around complaining isn't a solution. Okay, so we need to act on climate change. Got it. But what can we as individuals actually do about it? Well, a lot actually. First of all, educate yourself about the issue. The more you know about climate change, the more empowered you'll be to take action. Talk to your friends and family, share information on social media, and make your voice heard. Vote for leaders who prioritize climate action and hold them accountable for their promises. Support organizations that are working to combat climate change and advocate for policy changes. Reduce your own carbon footprint by driving less, eating less meat, and conserving energy. Every little bit helps. Remember, we're all in this together, folks. Let's channel our inner Leslie Knope and make the world a better, more sustainable place. Section 11. Join the fight to save our islands and maybe catch a tan later. Subscribe for more. So there you have it, folks. The lowdown on rising sea levels and the devastating impact they're having on island nations. But this isn't just a story about islands. It's a story about all of us. Because when one part of the planet suffers, we all suffer. So let's do something about it. Let's join the fight to combat climate change and protect our planet for future generations. And in the meantime, if you want to stay informed and entertained, because let's face it, the news can be a real downer, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more witty and informative videos. We'll be covering everything from the latest climate science to the most ridiculous conspiracy theories, because sometimes you just need a good laugh. Together, we can make a difference. Now go forth and be the change you want to see in the world. And don't forget to recycle.